Welcome to The One Thing, where each episode features our signature segment, Pandora's Box. We dive into hot topics that challenge the norm and ignite real conversation.
Inspired by Greek mythology, Pandora's Box isn't just about chaos. It's about truth, transformation and hope. That's what we bring to every conversation.
Have a cause or business that deserves to be seen? Want to be remembered forevermore? Be our next special guest. Contact us today at theonething@edgeradioaustralia.com.
Hello everyone and welcome to Edge Radio Australia, and you are listening to The One Thing with my co-host Aaron.
Lovely to be here. Thank you very much.
And these two wonderful people on the couch that we've had before. But
Repeat offenders. Offenders, no less, right? Yeah.
Repeat offenders. But we are missing one of our very special threesome. Young Lisa is behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
She's here, but she's just behind the scenes doing a few things, technical stuff that I don't have anything, no clue.
She's looking for the any key. That's all she's doing. Okay, let's okay.
Okay, so
shall we jump into it?
Yeah, jump into it. Would you like to introduce our two special guests?
No, I thought you were doing that.
Okay, I will do it. So apparently in our last episode on The One Thing, we had these two wonderful people, Bron Hendry speaking, and oh God, now I'm all over the place because I'm ex-prison officer. And we also have Brendon here, who is, what are you, Brendon? Can you tell me again?
Oh, I'm a long list of
Passionate
things.
advocate for justice.
That's
and
right.
Family fairness, known for his work in exposing systemic issues. So Bron and Brendon are here again on the back of, I'm not on the back of anything. Really.
Well, look, it's basically a bit of a follow-up, really.
Yeah.
You had a bit of a substantial, in my eyes anyway, it's a big win in a particular case that you were involved with. Let's just jump back into it as far as, can you give, for those who are just watching this for the first time, a little bit of a rundown of the elevator pitch of what you actually went through when you were leaving the prison service?
Sure. So obviously I was prison officer for a couple of years. I was exposed to what I would describe as a hostile working environment, pervasive sexual harassment, intimidation, victimisation, and it's quite. And I went to report that process internally using the.
So you were a whistleblower.
I was. Originally I wasn't. So I actually just followed the process. So originally that's what happened, and then as you report it, then it emerges from there. So you report something, you then get an email from a senior officer saying that you're a dog and your life will be at risk, which is obviously quite a real threat.
Just say that again. Okay, you went through the correct processes, of a government agency here, something that's supposed to have structure to it, and you got what response?
So senior officer, actually, my trainer, my supervisor, the person that was signing off on my probation, sent me an email stating that you don't report in prisons and you get put on the dog, was his exact words.
Wow.
And why you don't report another prison officer is that's because they won't have your back and your life will be at risk. So the fact that was from a senior officer, that was the directive.
Sure.
In reporting. Obviously, I spoke to other senior officers. I got sent the hurt feelings report. I think we talked about that last time.
The hurt feelings report was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It looks like a pice of satire.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy. Do you need a safe space? Are you a crybaby? I'm paraphrasing here. They were so ridiculous. You can't even think that it would be something that was on a correct form there. I mean,
it was belittling.
It was. Brendon, do you remember some of those particular things on the form, mate?
Yeah, essentially what it came down to was it's just making a complete mockery of the person making the complaint.
Yeah.
And that's the contents of it isn't important because it's like the broad scale of it is it's just mocking the person. It's taking no seriousness in what they want to report, and it just belittles them and shuts them down, and it doesn't give them an avenue to move forward. That's it.
Yeah, which, I mean, the whole system's in place for that, so that everybody can move forward, so that we can get a resolution. And in this day and age, we should be looking after our staff. It's such a big part of it. So to be treated, you were treated like filth. There's no other way of putting it.
I think you come into that working environment from other obviously areas or other careers.
Yep.
and it's well documented that, like senior officers say, it's nothing like you've ever expected, and it is so pervasively sexualized.
Yeah,
and it's hard to understand why or how that happens. I think because obviously it's a prison, it's all closed up. There's no one overseeing it, watching it. I think Brendon mentioned last time there's no body-worn cameras. There's no protections.
Why are there no body-worn cameras?
Well, I personally, I mean, it was supposed to be. They promised it. I think they've introduced it at Banksia Hill, which is the children's prison, because of the exposure of the torture that prison officers were doing to children, and obviously the conditions. So the government obviously have started to roll out body-worn cameras.
Yep.
But, even still, if they are implemented, people will just cover them or turn them off or whatever, I believe. I don't think it's necessarily a solution to the problematic
I mean, I've seen police officers here in Western Australia turn the cameras off. Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen it right done in front of me. So I can imagine in an environment like that's closed in a closed shop, like the prison system, they're going to turn them off.
And it's very secretive, like it's a very closed shop system. No, I mean, besides the fact the public don't really want to know what goes on in places like that.
Is it just because you are a woman, or is it because you're a new kid on the block? Was this done to men in prison system? They just didn't come forward. They just took it on the chin because it's something that gets done, like a rite of passage, or tell us a little bit about that.
I think the bullying is pervasive, men and women.
Both,
So it just depends on what circles you run in. They call it the purple circle. If you're in the purple circle, then you're pretty much immune. But
so
if you're
any
not,
of these other people come forward?
I think I have proven what happens to you if you do come forward, unfortunately. So there's lots of warnings. People say, for example, that email from that senior officer saying this is what happens here. This is the lay of the land.
Yes.
And I was naive and probably quite a logical thinker, where I'm like, that's not right. It doesn't work that way. And so you go again and you report it again, and then the same management are trying to tell you the same thing, that, it's going to be very difficult to put anything in writing, and we don't really do it this way. And you're a bit confused. So many people don't, they usually probably go to the union, people like Brendon. But at the end of the day, someone always knows you've reported them, or you've been to the superintendent's office. So they watch you go there, and then all of a sudden the dynamics change, because you could be the snitch or the dog.
Now, speaking of dynamics, look, I will say it till the cows come home. I'm very sick of the mainstream media and how they misuse their power here in, Australia, but I'm sure we all know it happens worldwide. Here in Western Australia, it's particularly insular. We've got really one main source of media that's very, very prevalent. Because of that, you don't really get any honesty or integrity in the reporting process. And in fact, what I've noticed is stories come out and then they just disappear.
Absolutely.
I want to jump to the video, if I may. This is Brendon, you actually speaking to the mainstream media. How long ago would this video be?
This was quite early on, Aaron. So this was a couple of years ago, when the process had essentially just begun.
Yep.
And at that point, the media were more than happy to report and investigate.
Sure.
And then we had some strange things happen after this aired, where reporters who were engaging with myself and Bronwyn and other victims, they were getting seconded and disappearing, ending up in other countries. And
it's crazy.
Like you said, it's the media. It's funny. I don't think we can even call it the media anymore.
No, it's not real.
It's because what it is, it's just an arm of the government now. It's just all they are. They're a marketing firm for the government. That's what they are.
You're being very kind saying marketing. I think more propaganda, but okay.
I'm going to play down a little bit, but when you can have a phone call from Labor and Labor MP, and where they go, right, if you do this, we'll cut your funding, or, you won't get invited to a political broadcast or anything like that. You'll get pretty much banned from Parliament, and those threats come across. And a lot of us have heard that and seen first accounts of that happening. It's no longer media. It's now a business that works for the government.
Yeah.
And last time I checked, they did that in Nazi Germany, I believe.
Yeah. Look, it was very popular in the 30s last century. Went really well.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of know where that went. Well, let's watch the video here and get a bit of insight.
Bunbury Regional Prison houses some of the state's worst criminals. But it's not the inmates under investigation tonight, it's the staff. 7 News can reveal a group of prison officers at the Southwest facility are facing shocking allegations of bullying, intimidation and sexual harassment. Their female colleagues allegedly subjected to vulgar behaviour. Another bombshell for our prison system, already cooking under the intense pressure of public scrutiny.
Inappropriate comments, female prison officers grabbed and pulled into offices with senior officers, and inappropriate activities occurring, and other crude behaviour like sniffing seats and making comments in front of other peers.
7 News has been given a copy of the allegations. Much of it is simply too graphic to report, but it includes serious allegations, threats of rape, sexual advances and even death threats. One woman says she was confronted with decapitated dead animals left at the doorstep after speaking out. 1 week, this possum, the next, a puppy. It's understood nearly 20 complainants have come forward. Their experiences now the centre of a WorkSafe and Industrial Relations Commission investigation. The WA Prison Officers Union also confirming it's assisting a number of members with sexual harassment claims across the state, including Bunbury.
You don't expect to go to work and to be harassed. You expect to have your colleagues and your peers protecting you and looking out for you, and not be acting like the actual perpetrators that they're looking after.
In a statement, the Department of Justice said it's aware of the matters and is investigating. Cassidy Moscone, 7 News.
Oh, Cassidy did a great job with that one. She got in there, she actually reported it, and she did a really good job of putting it together. It's a shame she disappeared shortly after.
Genuine reporting, right?
Yeah, that was genuine reporting, right?
And where has she been last seen, sort of on the front line in Iran? Or
probably all I know is I had another reporter reach out to me, and she also sent me a text message and said, really sorry, but I've been seconded, so I won't be able to, take on any further matters that you send to me. And she did refer me to another reporter who didn't take it as seriously, like we still engaged.
Sure.
But then she got seconded to Sydney. And then I was left with no one.
Wow.
Bron, look, we go on about it, and I'm very passionate about free speech, obviously, and we love to give everybody a platform to do that. But you must have felt so under pressure, quite frankly, and so much, I don't know, very, very difficult for you to lose your free speech like that, to be actually held back. Now, the court case, and we obviously have to dance around when we talk about court cases. We know that Edge Radio Australia got a bit of a mention, which was nice.
Yeah, well, that was exactly right. So Edge, obviously, Lisa attended one of the court hearings that we recently had, the recusal.
Yes.
And they were addressed by the opposing barrister. Quite, that's just not the conduct that you do. You don't address the gallery from the bar table.
No.
But that is the barrister for the state who thought she would take it upon herself to make a point of people being in the room. The people have the right to watch these cases. They have the right to be there.
Certainly do.
And also, obviously, every podcast that I do now, they transcript.
Will be heavily watched.
Yeah. And then they file affidavits to exactly every word I say. For the purpose, I'm not sure.
That's what I'm asking. That's what I wanted to know. What is the purpose?
I mean, first of all, they get to bill the state for every affidavit that they file. The purpose will be one day they're already starting to use things I've said out of context.
Of course.
And so they'll just put that snippet in an affidavit to bolster their support, for example.
Yeah.
Most recently, as much as, there was a recusal of the judge.
Well, explain that to our audience, what that's about.
So over the period of litigation for 2 years, I felt that there was a level of bias towards myself as a self-representing litigant. I'd raised a judicial complaint. The Chief Justice of Australia, Miss Mortimer, suggested that a recusal is the way to go if you feel that there is apprehended bias towards a judge. I didn't really want to do that, so I wrote back and said, oh, look, this is the last resort.
Sure.
And they wrote back, stating that these are your options. You follow the judicial process, which is further litigation, really, rather than trying to just narrow down what the issues are, if it's me personally or if it is the fact that self-representing litigants are generally disliked in the playground of the lawyers.
The playground, beautifully put.
Yeah.
Because they do consider it to be their little playground.
I do believe it's their stage, it's their platform, it's their playground.
Yeah.
I mean, that's prevalent in the court, where the barristers they address the court as I'm a friend of the court.
That's right. My learned colleague, my learned friend.
Yes. And so, and I can't do that because I stand up and say, yes, I represent myself. I'm here on behalf of myself. And so, and I'm not a friend of the court and I'm not a learned colleague and I don't have the ability to do that. However, so that happened. There was then some conduct issues going on that I felt was going on inside a case management hearing between the opposing barrister, which is Fiona Stanton, and Justice Jackson. And that was very clear. I then contacted the parties and I said, is there a conflict of interest between the judge and the opposing barrister? Is there a personal relationship? Is there something that there seems to be a weird, extraordinary events of conduct and case management hearings and outcomes like that? They didn't respond. And so I fell back to, this is 2 years without defences, 2 years without any really progress of the matter. I'm going to raise a recusal, and I did.
And good on you. What people need to know, because, why would you know this? Sadly, I do, because I've been in this situation myself. The person who makes, so if the judge if you accuse the judge or ask them to be recused themselves, right? They make the decision.
Correct.
It's not overseen by anybody. If you go to their hierarchy, they literally just refer it back to them.
Is that like an old law or,
yeah,
isn't it about time that we actually have a little bit of an overhaul on that system?
You would think so. I think the very fact that, it's relatively new that you can now raise a concern for apprehended bias, which is a perception of bias.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's been around for many years, but there's been many cases that give it its definition and it grows from this case precedent because this judge made that level of what the meaning of it is apprehended bias. So under the dictionary, it's an apprehension. So it's an objective test.
Sure.
It is if you it's kind of like a feeling, isn't it? Really, but you have to prove it.
Yes.
I'm just disgusted by in Western Australia. Okay, now police investigate themselves when there's misconduct. Lawyers, they do the investigations on themselves as well.
Yeah.
Also on the bench. I mean, really,
that's the bias.
That is just to me. Funny enough, I said it's corruption. I really do. I just don't see how, in any way, shape, or form, that you can get an honest result from that. Now, a great comment in here from Tess Hackett. Thank you for your comment here, Tess. The procedure is the punishment. Stress people out as much as possible. Completely agree with you. What are your thoughts, everyone?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I reckon the punishment is in the process, and that's what we've always said as well, is that besides the fact what happened to you in the workplace is what happened. Yep. It's never been denied. They've admitted to a lot of the things that they've done. And I mean, we've come so far, and yet you're now in a punishment process where it is now lawyers and barristers who are coming for you as a collective to discredit, to pick apart anything you say or do, to create a narrative, to convince a judge that a judgment has to go a certain way. So it doesn't matter what happened to you. It doesn't matter the fact that it's admitted for days and they got charged by WorkSafe, and it's pervasive and it's been around for many, many years with no change. Yeah, they will keep you in the process, and they will somewhat punish you.
That's going to affect your mental health.
Without a doubt. I mean, the thing is, though, there's no compensation for the process.
No.
So it's
only for what?
Yeah, so you can go through this process, and some of the state, they litigate for up to 8 years, 10 years, some of these cases. So what they do, and I understand the method, is just to wear you out. So
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Starve you out.
Starve you out financially.
It's financially starving people out. So basically what they do is they actually commit further stresses and actually human right violations
That's right.
against people while they conduct the process.
And that's what's happened to me. So while I've been in the federal court, for example, they released a training package to educate everyone and use my name as the case study for the training package.
Okay. Surely you should be financially compensated for that. I mean, that's your brand.
It's now it's now joined as a part of victimization. So the fact that they made an example of me using my full name.
Yep.
And they were trying to teach prison officers by using me. I mean, they could have used Joe Blogs or anybody, but they chose to use my name. They then went on to write emails with my name as the header when they were talking about so therefore I've been the example for them to train prison officers not to be that way or to do a certain thing or to implement a new policy. And the fact is, because they've stuck me in isolation, really it's a dissuasion from anyone else to report, because
of course it is.
Why would you report?
Why would you report? If you're going to be if you're going to be put through and made to be the spotlight person, which people just kind of want to do their reports and like not be victimized. They want to just get on with their life, get on with their job. And what they're kind of doing, and there's another case that's just to join further victimisation. So they haven't stopped.
No.
So I just fly back to the Human Rights Commission and they proceeded and we joined another matter to the case. So I think there's 3 accounts of victimisation, and then we've got the sexual harassment case, and it just grows. It grows by the month. Every time they engage in something completely untoward or exemplify me as a person who's speaking out.
I see this as absolute harassment on their part.
Correct. Yeah. Ongoing.
Hypocrisy is off the charts here.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, I don't know if they've apologised for putting my name on a training package, and they've apologised for putting my name on a header of an email.
But it should never have been done in the first place.
And they say it's an inadvertent error.
Oh, no,
so
that's
their
rubbish.
explanation. Yeah,
that's rubbish.
Okay.
We're sorry, but we keep doing it, but we're really sorry because it's an inadvertent error. And these are the assistant commissioners. These aren't just... Some of them are superintendents. Some of them
know
are.
what they're doing.
Well,
when
again,
they put these things out.
Of course they do.
You don't just do that willy-nilly.
Well, put in a financial claim, because they are actually using your brand, okay? And if it's on literature, you are owed money. And I know we live in a world where, unfortunately, financial compensation seems to be the only compensation. It'd be nice if it happened in a more an ethical way, and we didn't have to go down that path.
And the case would be over if I was to take a financial settlement, but I'm not willing to sign an NDA. So that's why the case is not over.
That's right.
Is because I will not be silenced from ministers or my doctor or my family or the person I'm walking my dog with. Yep. I refuse to be silenced, because a part of processing trauma is being open and honest and supporting other people go through the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I think these silencing agreements that they're doing to people where we can't talk about anything. So, for example, there's there was one that's I can't speak to a minister or my local member for parliament. Nobody can I speak to. So it's the fact that I'm not going to sign an NDA is my method in regards to I'm going to make an ethical stand and a principle stand. And why do you want it silenced? If there's nothing wrong, there's
exactly.
nothing wrong.
And you actually telling the truth and you actually telling your story is part of your therapy to get through this.
Well, absolutely. And I think also for me, I'm always about change. So if my story can help another male and female officers in the Department of Justice, or it can evoke some change or awareness of what is acceptable but what's not, I will keep talking until it changes.
That's right.
So until there's tangible changes, until there's tangible differences, until they've got staff retention, for example. And now we're talking about, prisoners that are being tortured in these prisons like Hakea, and, they're tripling up and people sleeping next to toilets. Where are why? Because there's no officers. Why don't they want to work for the department? Because of the culture, because of the retention, because of there's no support psychologically.
Yeah, and this golden handshake of here's the cash on the way out, keep your mouth
shut. The barley money.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? It's crazy. So you look, that was just released today, the stats in regards to workers' compensation.
Okay.
And horrendous.
It really is.
And why are those people leaving? Why are they, they're skilled, they're trained. So it costs the taxpayer so much to train these officers.
That's right.
And they can't keep them. It is not a bad job. It's really quite a fulfilling job. But without that, you've got no rehabilitation. Mm-hmm. So you've got no, the prisoners.
I don't think there's any interest by our government for any level of rehabilitation. I really don't.
I think that the scope is there if you've got staff and if you've got, and even with like post-release, for example.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have, self-funded support networks trying to gather, to help prisoners when they exit the prison.
Speaking of support, along the way over this past 2 years, what has been the biggest support for you traversing this whole scenario?
I think what you do is when you're vocal is you get more people that contact you. And so it's kind of like you've got to be careful not to get into a trauma bond with people when they want to share their stories. And I'm super an advocate for anybody. So to self-sacrifice to help that person, I will drop everything so that person has a better outcome. But what we've done is we've actually grown exponentially of not just people that are inside the prisons that have had the same experience, but we've got lawyers and we've got self-representing litigants that have been before the federal court that are now saying, I'm before the federal court. I'm representing myself. This is what's happening to me there as well.
Yes.
And this is what's evoked this, unfair
not necessarily
procedural.
under the same.
Not at all. There's others.
Different.
Yeah, they're doing it in fair work or they're in another case, but they've experienced the same feeling of gaslighting, of where's our paperwork going and why is that happening, or why am I not treated equally to that friend of the court? And so we've created all these networks, also networks through TikTok. So we've got New South Wales, Victoria, we've got girls coming together and boys that have experienced the same, whether or not it's in the military, police and prison.
It'll be in all of them.
And so therefore we've kind of got a bit of a network. And, I get by people that, and so, I'm until I can't talk, until I've been given a court order or something to don't know more, which I don't know what I say that could cause that besides
telling the truth.
And if there's not a truth to be told, rebut it. And we'll talk about it if you believe there's something that I've said that's not true.
Quick little break, back in just a sec. This is Edge Radio Australia, the one thing.
Is pain holding you back? Bowen Therapy with Panacea Healing can change that for you. It's never too late to recharge your health, career, or purpose. You have the power within yourself to change what no longer serves you, taking your life and health to another level. panaceahealing.com.au. You can do anything.
Yeah, you're watching, listening to, whatever you happen to be doing, it's Edge Radio Australia. The one thing, we've got a really important show here. I think this is quintessentially what we're about across the board here. Free speech and the ability to talk about the things that are important and not let government take control. And we know in a month's time, if you're under 16, you lose your free speech. And a little tongue-in-cheek on that one. So obviously we don't want our kids suffering through the negative sides of social media, but we also know that it's really just a way of getting a digital ID to the population.
Yeah, well, I know as a homeschooler, if I didn't have YouTube for my children growing up, there's no way I would have been able to give them the education they got.
Yeah, that's right. But we're trying to win votes here. Okay, we're trying to virtue signal. We're not actually trying to make the world a better place. And I'm going to go straight for the punch here. The Australian Labor Party and the Greens coalition, the damage they are doing to this country is untold. Yeah. And I know the opposition is quite pathetic, I really do, and I'd like to see some parties sort of raise themselves and raise their levels. But ultimately,
do you think that will change given the parties are all in together? Really?
Yeah, it's a case of, two wings of the same bird kind of routine.
I think we've got a two-party preferred basis, it's going to be very difficult to change. But I think
maybe we just need to come together and make that change happen. So
I think that's what's happening.
Watch the Bugs Life movie or the Ants movie, and watch The Power in the People as a collective.
Said from someone who clearly did raise their kids.
I have got one question for you. And what does a safer, more humane justice system look like?
I think it starts at the very top. So you're talking about the minister, and then obviously.
Do you think they've got the balls to do it though?
No, I don't think. For example, Paul Papalia, the person that runs the corrective services portfolio now, he's never been a prison officer. He wouldn't know what it's like to be inside a prison. And then you've got the commissioner, who Brad Royce is, and he's a police officer. He's never been in a prison. But I think what you've got to look at is the whole system. And the fact that, yes, they have to be incarcerated. That is the law, and that's what people are doing. But then once they're incarcerated, what's the rehabilitation like? Job skills, reintegration. exist. And it's kind of like that's where the problem exists. And I think a safer justice system starts in the courts of law.
Yeah. 100%.
And so I'm watching the backward process now. So I've come out of a prison and now I'm the other way around. And I believe our state is run by lawyers and barristers. I don't believe that there is a client. I don't believe that there is a minister. I don't believe that there is I think they're all dictated of what they can and can't say by law firms. And I think also you take that away and give the people autonomy and not be scared to be sued or not to be scared to be defamed or not to be scared to...
Which is so prevalent in today's society compared to what it was like 40, 50 years ago.
No one will speak until they've put it past legal advice or whatever. Even the mainstream media do that. I'm very aware that we won't say that because, we'll put it past our legal teams.
I've actually got a recording from the ABC when I was having a conversation with the ABC on an interview, and I said what I need to say, and she literally said, we'll edit out that bit because, we don't want to be, the legal kind of... No, hang on. I've just told the truth of something that's actually really, really important about a government agency that was actually doing the wrong thing. And the ABC that we pay, whatever, $1.2 billion a year for, is literally editing that and telling me straight out, right? And we've seen obviously what's happened with the ABC and the BBC over the last short period of time. We have got to stop this relationship. And what you just said, I'm talking about between media and politics, but I think you are bang on the mark. I have sat in courtrooms and I have literally, when the judge leaves the room, I have watched both sides collude and talk about their social lives and all of that sort of thing. When I say their social lives, I mean the social lives they have together. I've literally seen them collude there.
I think in the situation we're in, for example, a lot of the girls start in the Human Rights Commission. And so you ask the Human Rights Commission if they'll appoint a lawyer or if they'll refer you to a lawyer. And so then you go and everywhere in WA there's a conflict of interest. So you don't even get the right to legal really in WA. But also the fact that I don't believe in my case there's a client. I don't think there is a tangible person in the state that's not a legal representation or legally represented that is actually the client. I guess that's my curiosity is I am up against the state and they have a client, but I don't know who that is because the barristers and the lawyers...
They certainly won't tell you.
Well, they're the advisors. So even if their client was to disagree, they're not going to come to court and say, well, my client doesn't agree because they are being advised. So I think it's just, like I said last time, an Amway scam.
Yeah.
And I think that it's run by, obviously there's defamation laws that have just gone out of control where potentially everyone's implicated about being sued. That's just probably what the problem is.
Look, somebody I dealt with who used to work for the West Australian told me straight outright about a story that was written about me, the West Australian, and said that even because they lied in the story, okay? Anyway, they apparently said this is what they do. They'll actually check your financials. They'll do a search on you, and they'll figure out whether or not you can afford to sue them or not. If you can't afford to engage in legal proceedings, then they'll run the story. That's their fact checking. Okay, do you have the money to fight? That's actually the way they work.
They do. I mean, you look at the cases that have been fought. I mean, like Brittany Higgins' case, for example. It is what it is. But the money that's gone into that, it's quite disgusting. It's embarrassing for barristers and lawyers that continue litigation in that. But I think about what you've just said is it's unbelievable. Yeah. How in situations kind of like with the recent media that I got for the recusal, for example, the West Australians scandalised a judgment to the extent where they didn't consult with me. They didn't ask me about what the full story was. They refused to come to the court to get the argument. And then they scandalised a judgment without anything that I have to say in recourse. And they even say Perth woman exploits social media. I'm not a Perth woman. I didn't exploit anyone's social media. And that didn't happen. So, but the fact that they can publish that.
Yeah. What is a woman? I mean, come on, right?
Yeah. Well, they don't know if I don't.
I'm not tongue in cheek.
Exactly. But I could identify as anything really. So
you really could. And this is what I want to share with the world, and I do this whenever possible. Okay, whenever I see a story for the West Australian, I actually always put in there I call them the kitty litter times, because I wouldn't line a kitty litter tray with them. It is not journalism. It is propaganda. It is just.
I think a lot of it's written by AI these days.
Probably.
Like I have a look at it and I cross-reference. A lot of it's international news. It's clickbait.
Yep, it's very much so.
You can't sit down on a Saturday anymore or a Sunday and read and go through the paper from back to front.
I don't think I've read the West Australian in the last, 10 years.
And it's really unfortunate. If it's the way that they believe society is going and they want this instant gratification of these scandalous stories with big headlines that are going to bring people in just quickly, then have another arm of that media outlet, but still give us some content that is for people, because they're dumbing down society.
Yeah.
They really are.
But they're also dying as a media. Okay, honestly, they are.
Yeah,
they really
they
are.
have
And
to,
that's a very positive.
You don't see as many newspapers on the driveways these days.
No,
do you?
certainly don't. Now, I just want to take this chance. We've got some great questions and comments that have come through, so we might just take a few minutes to go through those, if I may. Question or comment rather here from Tess Hackett again. Thank you, Tess. It's basically intimidation. Could not agree with you more. That is spot on. Comment here from Catherine. Catherine has actually said, oh, sorry, I've got the wrong one. Let's see. Geez, so many here. They've got to find a spot. Okay. Now, there we go. That's a comment from Catherine, and I'll get you to answer that if you could there, Bron. If you're unable to speak to your local member, I understand that breaches WA legislation.
Yeah, well, that's the West Australian government asking me to sign an NDA, so I can't speak to my local member. So work that out. So their client is the state, and these NDAs contain disclosures that I'm not allowed to speak to any parliamentary minister or local representative. Who
you're paying their wages, right?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. So many great comments in here. Jeez, just doozies. All right, let's go. One from Lisa. Lisa, what have you had to say here from hiding there in the cheap seats? You are so brave, and imagine what a different world we could have if people said bullying is not okay. I could not agree more.
Exactly.
You are an absolute inspiration, and I thank you so much, because it is so hard to stand up against the machine, right?
Yeah, and it is hard, and it's crazy because maybe it's made my path, because I am terribly shy. Everyone will probably tell you the same story, that I'm the most introverted person you'll ever meet, and putting in this situation, kind of having to articulate your words without stuttering or overthinking each particular thing that comes out of my mouth I don't know if it's brave, but I feel a drive. And until that, I wake up every morning and it's Groundhog Day, and I keep going, do you know what? It's not for me anymore. It's terribly punishment for me. It's horrible. Nobody wants to be there and be litigating a matter and learning how to write an affidavit, or learning how to write submissions and reading law. Law is perverted. It is not about the people anymore. It is about, it's gone on, especially the way our adversary system, where it's just, it's scaffolded on itself. So you've got judgments from 100 years ago, and then you've got judgments happening, and it's all just the way it is. It's not comprehensible by a normal citizen. And the way I comprehend the law and the logic I am behind it, and that's how I present my case.
I think it's written in a way to exclude the everyday person, right?
We cannot represent ourselves. I mean, you're doing such a brilliant job.
Well, I don't think I am, because I just catastrophically lost a recusal, but then got a recusal at the same time. So when you look at it and then say what happened to me, so the punishment in that is that they've now come for costs against me. So I lost that argument, and the judge on his way out suggested that they write submissions to claim costs against me for losing that one part of the argument.
Now, show the arrogance of that man. I'm assuming it was a man in this case.
Jackson, Judge Jackson is a male judge. And I mean, they have the right. If you lose a particular part of a hearing, and those people have had to attend because you've raised an argument, the fact that they didn't apply for costs when they opposed the recusal, that they didn't put forth any claim for costs, and the fact that on his way out he wrote an order that they write submissions to claim costs.
I find that
isn't that given legal advice though?
I would think it was given. I mean, the thing is though, it's common sense. If they lost a hearing, then they know that they could have risen up on their own intent. That's just the way it is. But the fact is that I can't raise costs ever. Okay. So I'm a self-representing litigant, so I can't claim costs off them, even if they've lost.
So that's what I was just going to ask you.
The system itself is so unfair.
That's broken.
So I can't bill for my time, anything. I could probably, bill for the 50 cents that it cost me to photocopy that piece of paper, but I can't bill for my time. So when they legal firms, especially the state, so that is a lot of people. So up to 19 people. Lisa was there. She saw 8 of them in the bench in the bar the other day. And I'm talking about, an interlocutory application that potentially we don't know, because they won't put their summary of costs forward as yet. could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I don't know.
I've dealt with a barrister once. It was $4,000 an hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, this is just, it's just
it
mind
blows your mind. Yeah,
it really
so
does.
it's kind of, and that's when it hits home that the system is so perverted. And I guess, you know, they say, oh, you know, you go into litigation, you risk it. I came out of the Human Rights Commission because they didn't attend. I came out of the Human Rights Commission to resolve it because they were unwilling to attend and resolve the matter reasonably.
Yeah.
And so therefore your next step is to go to federal court.
Yes.
The fact that they now say, well, you're litigating the matter, and so therefore you've got the risk of cost if you make a mistake, or if you don't, your argument doesn't stand up. Now, that judge recused himself on his own accord. Well, he'll say he handed it back to the because he thought that I was an asshole. The fact that he's gone anyway, I got the orders that I wanted, but the fact that he's now gone and give them a direction that they can potentially claim costs, and they have written submissions in that.
Let's back it all up for a moment. You're going through all of this because you were harassed.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
You were the victim.
Yes.
Right? And I hate the term victim.
And that's not been denied. I'm going to say it's not, you know, the allegations that are fully substantiated publicly and also in written form.
I get so annoyed about the advertising campaigns that are everywhere at the moment. They're all over the place about coercive control and abuse and all of that. And guess who the greatest abusers are? They're our government, okay, and the legal system. I really think so. I want to just throw to Brendon, as far as in your role, mate, you do advocacy. I fall over my tongue. Advocacy here and help a lot of people with this sort of thing, mate. I mean, do you feel like you're up against a brick wall here? I mean, I've got a comment that's come up that I want to bring up, and I think this is more about Bron than yourself, but look, you know, we have a massive ball shortage. I think that's a good comment there.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Didn't mean to digress.
It's true. You look at the process, and I've dealt with dozens of cases now involving similar matters, and it's the same across the board. There's nepotism, there's collusion, there's corruption. There is an unwillingness to actually just focus on the facts of a matter and to resolve it as quickly as possible. So the person who's been involved, who have been impacted by what's happened to them, can move on with their life and get the treatment and the care they need. It really is, the punishment really is in the process, because, and I've had people comment where they say, what I went through was really horrible, but what they put me through this process was even worse.
Agree.
And I look at them, it's like, I agree with you. Like, I've seen what they do, and they will literally make things up. They will make up stories. They will fabricate evidence. They will twist words. And what it comes down to is there's no separation of powers.
That's right.
And with the law that we have to see today, the law is created, especially the West Australian legislation and laws, it's created in favour of insurance companies and corporations. It does not protect the individual. It doesn't protect Australian people. It protects big business.
It's definitely about money.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
money.
it's
and that's all it's about. It's to ensure that those people who have either pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, telecommunication companies, you name it, it's all big. It's to protect big business, to keep them going.
Yep.
But then you look at the politicians. Where are their interests? Well, their interest is in their NGOs, their sneaky directorships of these companies, right? Who invest in these companies.
Yeah.
So it's just a big beast that protects itself. And as an individual, if you go up against it, you were going against a system that will only just protect itself. And that's where you see these lawyers when they call themselves friends and colleagues, and they talk to themselves like they know each other. They all know what they're doing. And Bronwyn's right. It's our political system. It's not a political system.
No.
It's filled with lawyers and filled with business owners who self-protect themselves.
Look, honestly, the political system, political class here in Australia now is so full of lawyers, it is ridiculous. And when I've dealt with lawyers, it is very, very apparent to me the amount of sociopaths when we're talking about lawyers and judges. And these people are making calls about your life. Sometimes I wonder how much just pure evil is in that, and how much they're actually enjoying the process. I've actually watched lawyers when they're deliberately damaging people, and I've watched their faces, and you go, oh my God, you're enjoying this.
And, I'd love to do a social experiment where, for a moment, no one instructs a lawyer, for example, in the family court, and the parents are forced to negotiate, parenting orders or even in this situation. Because if I had my alleged perpetrators standing beside me in federal court, we wouldn't be there, because it would be all about compromising and talking about resolution, and it would be over.
Communication.
But the fact that the respondents in my matter have never showed up, but their lawyers show up every month or every couple of months, and they get, paid hundreds of thousands that are probably cracking over probably into the $500,000 in lawyer fees just so far.
Right.
And you're looking at that kind of situation. But the problem is that people believe lawyers, so they believe that they need them so badly, and potentially I'm that naive that I will just keep bouncing through, and I interpret the law this way, and I'm going to do an affidavit, or I'm going to do this because I'm trying to follow a rules and process. The rules are in place. You can read them, understand them, get before the courts, and then go, okay, well, what's happening now? I think if you were to, for example, take the Amway scam away and actually sit down, humans are really reasonable people. What makes it unreasonable are people fighting and say, look, we can pursue this one and we can pursue that. And it is just a scam. I'm sure the respondents in my matter don't know what the hell's going on in court.
Oh, thoroughly agree.
They're not communicated what's going on. And
little side note, there's a gentleman who has actually contacted us, and I've had a little bit to do with on a different matter, but who has actually put an app together which is using AI, which is built around the Australian legal system, and you can ask it questions and it can come up with directives, and very, very good. And I think for litigators, it might be a great tool.
The lawyers are using it. The lawyers are using AI. I mean, I can absolutely guarantee that in my case with affidavits and submissions. Because you read the case precedent that they're trying to use in the submissions, and they're wrong. So you think, okay, well, that's wrong. So you've got that from AI who's given you the wrong program.
Wrong information.
So it's a good.
If there was someone out there today that's afraid to come forward, afraid to share their story, what would be the biggest piece of advice you could give them?
I think, you have to
because there would be a certain amount of fear.
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. I mean, I can tell you because they still come to me. Where they can't talk up. They can't even talk up in the workplace. So it's still occurring at Bunbury Prison. It is still occurring in the other prisons. And they're too scared because it's so entrenched of what could happen to you. It's absolutely true what could happen to you. From the threats that they're going to plant drugs in your bag, or they're going to set you up, or they're going to target you to the extent where you start shift. And if you've raised a complaint, or if you're targeted, they will redeploy you to a really shitty position in the prison, and they'll make you sit and watch an electrician for 12 hours in the sun. So that's what they do. So we're talking about you come to work.
That's harassment.
I know, but it's so inadvertent, and this is what they do. So they move you around. And you walk through the gate. Some of the girls walk through the gate and they've got a shift they go to. They plan in their head, I'm unit 6, unit 3, wherever, and they've got their day all sorted and they know who they're working with. And then if that person has raised a complaint, all of a sudden they're redeployed every day to another unit or another place, or a really shitty job in the prison. So it's just horrendous how they go about bullying. Even if it's not direct, it is definitely indirect. And some of the stories are just horrendous.
So would they come to you then? Would they go and see Brendon?
So at the moment,
if they really wanted to open up, but they were just a little bit afraid, what would that be their first sort of step?
Start writing.
At this stage, what I would guarantee for them to do is take it. So to find a way to take your evidence out of the prison. I know they probably, that's pretty, emails, write it down in your diary, everything that happens to you. I cannot guarantee at this stage at all that them reporting to their managers and following the grievance process, it's not going to change anything. So we've got now the situation where legitimate workers' comp claims are being denied. So workers that have been exposed to the most horrendous things, they've watched self-harm, they're putting legitimate workers' comp claims in, they're getting denied, and the denial from ICWA is you are a witness in the federal court matter. And so therefore they're not even getting the workplace rights that they have owed to them. Terrible. Because they are they're either a witness or they've reported something associated with my matter. So now the department are now what we call is that they're coming in, so they're
standing over them.
They're closing shop, and so I couldn't actually recommend anyone to report through the right process through the department, because it's not there yet. It's not regulated. It is still completely let go, because you've got the perpetrators.
So that would be one of your driving forces, is to get that regulation happening, to have that have that system in place where people can actually report and be heard. And without.
Well, you've got Bunbury, for example. Yeah. You've got a superintendent that's still there, yet she's a respondent in a federal court matter, and she's got other matters in the human rights. She is still running and controlling that prison as it is today. So I'm not sure how that works with the delegatory authority.
I don't have any idea how that works.
And how then it can just continue to be that pervasive.
Okay.
So you're still stuck, because those things have not been remedied. And I mean, so no, I wouldn't recommend. They've got their union they can go to. They can speak to like someone like a Brendon, obviously psychological services like their GP.
Yeah.
But as prison officers at the moment, how it is at the moment, and what we're seeing come out, and the inadequacy of policy and procedure, non-compliance in those things, I think it's best you just keep your evidence, keep taking notes, write it all down.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately you wear it out. You just have to, if you need your job, or quit. For as far as I'm concerned, you don't need a job that bad. You really don't. And there's lots of jobs that you can go to, come out of it, you'll realise that. And then there's opportunities everywhere. But do not suffer through it just because you have to pay your mortgage.
Sure.
There are other options out there.
To quote a man who might be changing the world a little bit at the moment, it's time to drain the swamp.
Yes,
it really
time.
is.
Yeah,
it really
right,
is.
Aaron.
I want to go to this comment here, because we do have to finish up. Clearly, someone who knows you there, Bron. Ali, you're fantastic comment here. You're our voice, Bronwyn. You're a strong, brave, despite the fact that they continue to try and break you. I admire your strength, knowledge, and determination to fight for yourself and everyone else who has their own personal experience. I think that sums it up. And
absolutely.
I'm quite frankly, I'm just proud to know you.
Oh, thanks.
It's like I'm sitting next to a celebrity.
It's not. Well, I don't want to be a celebrity. I just want change.
I think, and a change agent.
And if I have to yell and scream and potentially run through the bushes and get hit by the sticks, I'll wear that.
Yeah.
Because, if I'm the first girl to come out, speak on radio, do TikTok, speak to, bring people together. There is power in the people. And if we can form a group just supporting each other without, being mindful of, vicarious trauma and all the things that can happen in those
having a voice
circles.
For the people.
You've got to, for example, Ali is a victim. So she's in the Human Rights Commission at the moment. And you put the support around her for her to get through that process, because she'll be where I am in the next 12 months. And so you don't want that to happen for people, but the way the state litigate matters, and for example, the state aren't litigating the matter. They have employed Minty Ellison's, which is a massive law firm, on taxpayers' money to fight the matters. So there's no reasonable prospects of resolution. There's and so the first thing they do is punish you from coming forward.
Of course they do.
And this is what we're watching in the Human Rights Commission at the moment.
We have to end. Sorry, go on.
That firm, that
Minty Ellison?
Yeah, they work for a lot of insurance companies, don't they?
Well, they are an insurance lawyer, so it's all about money.
What conflict? Can't say it at all. No. I just think I want to close on this little thought. Okay, I think that you stepping up and what you've done is remarkable. And as I say, I think that people need to commend you for it. I think look, in the world, we need more Rosa Parks and less Anthony Albanese's, all right? That's what we need. People who actually stand up for what's important here.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that.
And thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak it, because, without you guys, there is no free speech.
Well, give me a go.
Yeah.
Well, there's a T-shirt right behind you there, Brendon.
And also, I want to say a big thank you to Wilbur.
Oh, Wilbur's done so
Wilbur's
well.
down there.
Oh, he's had enough.
Now. He's had enough.
Yes.
He's having a big stretch, and he's just adorable. So,
yeah, we've got a Space Invader, so he had to come and join us.
Very cool indeed. Thank you very much for being part of The One Thing here on Edge Radio Australia.
Ever felt lost online finding the right businesses?
Absolutely, like a needle in a haystack.
Introducing the Worldwide Awake Business Directory.
Tell me more.
It's your hub for businesses sharing your values. Discover eco-friendly products, socially responsible services, and more.
Count me in. I'll check it out straight away.
Find businesses aligned with your values on the Worldwide Awake Business Directory. Start making a difference with every purchase.